All right, so I saw this article come across my email inbox today in that OpenAI's ChatGPT is thinking in Chinese sometimes. No one really knows why. I thought that was interesting. So, for example, this guy made a tweet. If you ask it a question, it will do its thinking and processing in Chinese. And with the O1 and O1 preview, it actually shows you how it does its reasoning. So the final answer is going to be in English or whatever language the operator asked it in. But the question is, why is it thinking in Chinese? So there are a couple theories here. The three main theories I've found is that one of them is saying the reason why it's thinking in Chinese is because the AI has been trained on a lot of Chinese data. So it's just been influenced by the Chinese language because it has so much training data in Chinese. And the second theory is that these AIs are using whatever language is most efficient for the reasoning process of that problem. Now, personally, I think this is the most optimistic answer and the one I would tend to believe because I do know for a fact that certain languages are better at reasoning certain things. For example, Chinese is generally better at thinking through math problems than English is. And other languages have different strengths. So, certain types of logical problems, it's just literally easier to think through them in a language like Chinese versus English. So, as the AI model, it makes sense that its internal process, it's going to use whatever language it thinks is most efficient to solve the problem. And then another theory is that the LLM is what they call hallucinating. And I looked into this, and essentially, like hallucinating is just a fancy way of saying it's making a mistake. This is an article about what AI is hallucinating means. And I think this is an unlikely answer in this case because I don't think thinking in Chinese is a mistake. It's just a different way of arriving at the same answer. So, and then of course you have your conspiracy theories that, somehow the Chinese are influencing the AI platform, which I think is unlikely in this case because OpenAI is a US company. And a final possibility I saw in here is how someone basically said that the AIs are language agnostic. They don't care what language they're using, and it can fluidly switch between all sorts of different language. It says that it's just like you switch to Hindi, Thai, a language other than Chinese when teasing out a solution. So it could be the case that literally line by line, it switches the language it thinks in based on what it thinks will produce the best answer. Because if you think about it, it's impossible for a human to have full fluency in all languages. And even if a human is fluent in multiple languages, there's always going to be one language where that person is better at thinking than in the other one. So if you hypothetically imagine a person who is equally and 100% fluent in every language, then it would make sense for that person to probably rapidly switch back and forth between which language he or she is thinking in when that person is thinking as well. So I think this is actually a fairly plausible answer because, yeah, perfect fluency in every language would mean that you're going to fluidly switch between languages based on which language is slightly better at reasoning through each individual step of a problem you're trying to solve. So quickly jumping into my own ChatGPT here, I said, it's been said that certain languages are better for thinking through certain types of problems. What language is the best for math? So it has a bunch of them. I mean, it said ancient Greek. That sort of makes sense because a lot of mathematical concepts are based off like Greek and Latin letters. But if I scroll down here, what's interesting is that, like I said, Chinese, these are numeric centric languages. So it makes arithmetic more intuitive given that in Mandarin, 11 is like 10 1, 21 is 2 10 1. Like it's very logical and intuitive in how the language is structured. What's interesting too is it says for math problems, programming languages, of course, are very effective. So MATLAB, Python, and of course the AI can also think in programming languages. Let's try one more thing. What about for making strategic decisions? Choose one best language and justify it. Let's see what ChatGPT says. The best language for making strategic decisions is German. Precision and clarity, systematic thinking, rich tradition and strategic discourse. I don't know if this would actually influence things, but adaptability, abstract concepts, influence in modern strategy. It's interesting. Now let me switch models to O1. And O1 uses advanced reasoning. So if we use O1 and ask it to think through something, let's just say think through an ultra accurate estimate for the world GDP in 34 years. It's a random thing. But what's cool about O1 is it's going to show you how it thinks. Give it just a moment here. So if I look at it as it's thinking, so piecing together factors, estimating GDP growth, refining the estimate, crafting the forecast, suggesting a range. So in this case, it's doing it quote unquote thinking in English. So you can see this is like a really long answer. Establish a baseline, growth rate, components, compounding over 34 years, plausible range of considerations, concluding ultra accurate